Hello and welcome back to another Game Nexus arcade video, and today we're going to be taking a second look at Fighter's Impact. Now in this video, this was actually the first gameplay I recorded, but in this video you'll see me using a couple of...
Conduct me, my fist. Now then, go to the field of battle.
You'll see me actually using a couple of Silene's costumes and fighting styles. When I was actually doing the gameplay, I had used all three fighting styles, but I ended up losing because she has this one where she's like wearing a Russian hat and a skirt, but it's not as good as her wrestling or the second fighting style that I use. The wrestling fighting style is very good and combo heavy, and then the other one that I use is like very kick heavy, and it's very easy to defeat a lot of the opponents. And the one thing I thought was kind of weird about this game, there are a few fighting games that actually do this, but it's like each fighter's name is like its own logo. And they're all done in like different styles. That's what makes it kind of strange, and it looks like all of the text shouldn't have been in like the same game, really. Now the weird part is I've only noticed this now when I'm doing this commentary, but the music that's playing right now is the music that played on Hornet's stage in the first gameplay. So it's kind of weird that, like, I guess the music isn't exclusive to stages or to characters. Now, if you didn't see my first video, a quick bit of background on this game. Fighter's Impact was released exclusively in Japanese arcades on August of 1996. It got one PlayStation release in Japan only, just like the arcade version was in Japan only, on April 25th of 1997. It was released as a PS1 classic on the PlayStation Network in Japan on June 25th of 2008. Of course, in Japan arcades only, once again, there was a game called Fighter's Impact Ace, which basically added some things but took away some things. Now you'll see I'm using a different martial arts style, not the wrestling one. And you'll see me switch between these two a few times, because if you had seen my first arcade video for this, the AI is rather unbalanced and it can be a little dumb. It's like it'll adapt to the way I'm fighting, but if I change fighting styles the next match, it's like it forgets everything it learned about how I fight, and then it gets easy again. But now, as I was saying here, the game didn't get like an official American version, but THQ published a game by Polygon Magic, the same makers of this game, called Versus, which basically uses this game's engine, but completely throws out all the characters and makes completely new ones by Marvel Comics. As I said, Versus has characters designed by Marvel Comics artist Curtis Fujita, and it's kind of like the same kind of mechanics as this game, but it's different, really. Now this guy, as you can see, is a different sub-boss character than I had fought in the first game. And if you hadn't seen my first video, all characters except for like that monster guy that I fought on the stage where I made the comment about the music being the same, all characters have 3 different costumes and fighting styles you can choose from. But unlike a lot of fighting games, like Hardcore Gaming 101 said that the fighting styles can be very similar. So like if this character had Taekwondo and another character did, it'd be the same fighting style. But as I was saying, the one big thing I don't like about this game is the AI can be rather unbalanced. It'll be like super easy 1 minute, and then the game will kind of rubber band back and learn what you were doing, and be super, super, super hard. And no matter what fighting game I'm playing, I always like that like triple replay thing. I think it's kind of cool looking. And now if you saw my last video, this is Kaede's like default fighting style. And it was also the one I played against her as Dr. Wiz for the second sub-boss. And I really do like how the stage looks. It has a nice, unique look. And I don't know why, for some reason, a lot of the games have this like kind of like chanty music in the back.
Ready? Go.
But it seems like this is like a continuing theme that you hear a lot in this game. But that's one thing I had mentioned in my last video. This game looks great. It has a very good look for a 3D PlayStation fighting game. But unfortunately, the actual gameplay isn't the greatest, but it's still a decent game to play if you're like a big 3D fighting game fan like myself. But it's not going to be winning any awards. It's not even like in the same ballpark as something like Tekken, or even Street Fighter EX for that matter. But it's like one of those interesting fighting games that most people probably either don't know much about or even haven't heard of at all, because of course it never like was officially released outside of Japan. It only had that like Versus quote-unquote English version outside of Japan, which really wasn't the same game. And of course Versus was kind of one of those fairly generic fighting games that nobody really said much about. I could remember at one point it was like an old Electronic Gaming Monthly or GamePro I was looking at, and that's the only reason I had ever heard of Versus, because I had seen an advertisement for the game in the magazine. And that's actually pretty cool, the animated waterfall in the background.
Ready? Go.
You kind of wouldn't expect that. And see how I've been telling you that like music with the chanting plays quite often? And I honestly don't know why. And the cool part about a lot of Silene's moves is she has a lot of moves where you can do these really quick combos. And now, I didn't mention it in the last video, but that little meter under your name has something to do with the way that the combos work in the game. And if you do like too many combos too fast or something, it's like your character gets dizzy and the enemy gets an extra hit. And it seems like that meter gets bigger the more combos you perform. But as I said, as this game is a rather obscure game, nobody talks about it, it's kind of a little harder to find information about it.
See ya. Ready? Go.
And now you'll see I'm back to the wrestling fighting style again, because this guy here always seems to beat me whenever I face him, and that's what I was talking about, that whole dizzy thing. When your meter kind of overheats. And for some reason, the AI really rubber banded, so I had to switch fighting styles, and it really did help. And as I said, I really don't understand what's the deal with the chanting.
Ready? Go.
But yeah, I definitely have to say there's a lot of things about this game that really don't make a lot of sense. Like, starting with the characters having, like, different logos as their names instead of just a standard font. And then, like, there's a little bit of story on one of the flyers that I showed in the beginning of both of these videos, but as far as the story goes, from what I understand, even in the PlayStation version, characters don't have any proper ending segments or anything, so it's not like you're gonna see, well, when Silene wins, you see her, like, getting a prize or something. It just kind of ends. It was probably one of those things when they were...
Good night.
Good night, is what she said. But it's probably one of those things where they were like...
What is it you wish me to do? Ready?
And now here's the sub-boss that I'm facing in this gameplay. And I can remember reading on the Hardcore Gaming 1-on-1 article, this character was hard. But I was actually surprised I didn't really have that much trouble with her. She doesn't seem too bad, and she kind of has that, like, weird, like, blue genie thing going on. And I definitely remember when I was first defeated by her, I was like, oh, well, this is gonna be one of those ones where I have to face her, like, 5 times, and, probably not end up winning. But... somehow she didn't end up too bad.
Ready? Go.
And then I was somehow able to defeat her without, like, really all that much trouble. But I've seen some screenshots of the PlayStation version where she's shown as a playable character. But she seems like she could be pretty crazy here. And now in actually seeing this gameplay, I was thinking to myself, wait, I have this little, like, bit of health left, and she had a lot, and somehow she didn't hit me again.
With your almighty... Ready? Go.
And it goes without saying that was once again another edit there where I didn't defeat the boss the first few times, and I'd even tried Silene's third fighting style, and I somehow didn't beat him again. And, like, you'll notice there's some nice music sometimes, but it doesn't seem like really regular. Like, they couldn't make up their mind what music they were going to use. And a lot of times you'll hear that chanting for some reason. As if, like, if a theme plays too long, it just defaults to that. And if you didn't see my other video, this character, most of all, seems like he always tries to ring out you no matter what you do. And he's successful very often. And that's one thing I always notice in a lot of these, like, older 3D fighting games. And for some reason, in both of these gameplays, I actually left a loss in to the boss, but you can then see how, like, he was really good in that round, but he's gonna be not so good in this one. Either that or I'm gonna ring out him a couple times. Which it kind of goes without saying, if the AI really wants to ring out you all the time, you might as well do the same thing to them, because it's only fair. But unfortunately, in both of the gameplays I did for the 2 of my videos here, I never ended up actually being below 15 minutes, so I never got a high score on the high score chart. But I guess it's one of those things, when I do hook up this board again, I can really get more practice on this game. But the one thing I can definitely say about Fighter's Impact, it might not be the best.
Darkness.
Oh, okay, just like in the other video, it was the ending boss going darkness, but the one thing I can most certainly say about this game is it's an interesting game. Will I say it's the best fighting game in the world? No. Will I say it's a terrible fighting game? No. It's kind of middle of the row. It's alright, but it's not something that you're gonna be, like, making your main fighting game that you will give up everything else to play instead. But it's a decent time, especially if you could find a friend or two to play, as opposed to the terribly unbalanced AI. Because even on normal mode, it seems like sometimes it'll rubber band, then it'll lose everything it gained in the last time, and then it's like very inconsistent. But Fighter's Impact, as I said, is definitely an interesting game. It's not the best fighting game, but it definitely deserves a try, even if you only play it in an emulator, as you probably will never see an arcade that has this, unless they're specializing in very obscure Japanese fighting games. But, yeah, no matter how well you do, you're never going to get an ending in this, or, as I understand from Hardcore Gaming 101, the PlayStation version. But this has been another Game Nexus arcade video, and I shall see you later. Bye.